Good morning, everybody. My name is Shannon with J&S King Family Farm. Thank you for joining me today. I was out doing barn chores this morning and debating on what I was making for supper. And I left my coffee cup down there, so I had to get another one. And so I was debating on dinner, and I've decided on either tacos or fajitas. But here's the thing. I make my own taco seasoning, and it's getting kind of low, the jar. There's enough here for dinner, but I thought I would share how to make your own taco seasoning. It's really simple. There's so much less junk in it. I haven't bought packets in years. I think they're almost $1.50 now. I don't really buy them. So, but there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. It just says seasonings and a lot of sodium. So this way, if you make your own, you can cut your own sodium down to whatever makes you happy. You can up the heat however you want. If you want it really hot, go ahead. I've got small children. I don't make it that hot. And I find this works really well either for tacos or for fajitas. You can change it up a little bit for fajitas. I just use the same seasoning. So it's really, really simple. I wrote the recipe down because normally it's on my phone. And I've been I'm printing my recipes off and getting them written down because one of these days my phone's not going to work and I'm going to want it and I'm not going to have it. So this kind of goes under the list of things to save you money. You get significantly more bang for your buck. You just get so much more seasoning. So I'm going to mix it up. It stores really well. And I'll put the recipe down in the description. And you can double this recipe. I usually quadruple it, but for today, I'm just going to make the recipe as is. And I recommend that. Make the recipe as is the first time. And then if you want to change it up a little bit, a little less salt, a little more heat, you can do that. So don't go making 4 times the recipe and then decide, I don't really like that. It needs this or it needs that. But I think this is a really good recipe, and it's what we use. So let's get started. So I buy most of my spices by the pound, and it's much cheaper that way. And I order it in. I used to buy it at the grocery store, and you can do that. You can go to the grocery store and get those small packets. I'm looking to see if I've got one sitting out here, and I don't. This is normally how I buy mine. This is organic paprika, smoked, 454 grams. This comes in from Splendor Garden. I'd have to look up the price. But we really like it. It smells so good. And it's really good quality. And I order it in, which is great. They deliver it to me so I don't have to drive anywhere, which at the price of fuel is fantastic. So we're going to start, though, with 4 tablespoons of chili powder. I just use a mild chili powder, and then that way I can control the heat. If you like hot chili powder, you can do hot chili powder. So 4 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we go through these pretty quickly. Your spices are usually good for, they say 6 months, a year. They don't last that long here because we do go through it. And then we need a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This I buy in a small container because we don't go through that much of it. 1/4 teaspoon. And we don't like it so hot we can't taste our food. Just a little bit of heat. Ooh. There's a 1/4 teaspoon of that. We need a teaspoon of oregano. So I keep all my spices in random jars, as you can see. Some of it are like jelly jars. This is an old mayonnaise jar. That's a canning jar. This is a pasta sauce jar. Actually, I think this was probably an Alfredo sauce jar because it's smaller. This had honey in it at one point. So this had, the one that had the chili powder, this was roasted red peppers I picked up at Costco. So we tried to save all our jars. If you want to get the label goop off, the best way I've found to do it is 100% acetone nail polish remover. And that works to get that sticky yuck off. All right, teaspoon of oregano. And I do like to, I can label everything really well because there's no, you don't want to guess what it is. 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. Now, I currently buy in my smoked paprika. You can grow paprika peppers, and you can grow hot or mild paprika peppers. And then you can smoke them. You want to wait till they turn red, and then smoke them, and then dehydrate them, and then grind them into powder. And this, oh, it just smells wonderful. I love it. So you can do that. And that's on my list of things to try. And I might try it next year. So I brought in a whole pile of pepper seeds from the Atlantic Pepper Co. And I want to try them this year. There's a little bit of plant debris. All right. What was it? 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. See, this is why I have to have it written down, because I start talking and I don't remember what I'm doing. And then 2 tablespoons of ground cumin. But this really is a great way to save some money, making your own mixes. This is just one of the few mixes that spice mixes I mix up regularly, and I just don't buy them. I make my own Chinese 5-spice. I do this one. Sometimes I make a separate fajita seasoning, and it just works so much better, and it's so much cheaper. Teaspoon. Ground cumin. See, I know there's something missing here, and it's the onion powder, but it's a teaspoon of garlic powder. See, even when I transposed it down, I didn't get it all on there, and I know it's missing. Ooh, staticky. You can't see it, but it's just like sticking out like a magnet pieces. It's kind of cool. So it's a teaspoon of garlic powder, teaspoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of salt. You can use less salt. I prefer it this way. It's really hard to overdose yourself with salt when you stop using prepackaged foods. It really is. When you stop using processed items, it's very, very hard to overdo the salt. Black pepper and a tablespoon of black pepper. You can freshly grind this. We buy it already ground as well as in peppercorns, and we go through enough of it that it's not really, we don't worry too much about it. And then you're just going to stir this up really well. And this makes probably enough for 3 or 4 taco nights, I would say. I use 3 tablespoons. You can use more, you can use less, which is also the nice thing, is that when you make your own, you have control of how much seasoning you put in. So if you're only cooking for 2 and you don't want to cook a whole pound of ground beef, and you want to cook a half pound of ground beef, then you can use a tablespoon and a half for a half pound of ground beef. And you don't have this random half packet of seasoning lying around. So we just got it all mixed up here nicely. I mixed this up the other day because I was making something. I think I made tacos last week. So this hasn't been sitting here that long. So I'm going to add this right on top. I'm going to use my canning funnel because I'm not that good. And we're just going to 4, 5, 6, 7. I would say there's enough in there for at least 3 taco nights. So we're a family of 4. We use a pound of ground beef, When we order our beef frozen, that's how we order it. We order it as a pound. And I would use 3 tablespoons of this on the, let me just mix it around, on the beef as it mixes. Now, our beef is really, really, really lean. So we don't actually have to drain the beef. If you are using beef that is maybe not as lean, we find because we're getting it from the processor direct, right from the farmer to the butcher, is very, very lean. If you're getting extra lean ground beef from from Superstore or whatever your grocery store is, your local grocery store, I think that in the U.S. would be like a 90% lean, 95% lean, something like that. You may still need to drain the excess fat and liquid off of it and then mix this in. Now, typical taco mixes ask you to use like a 1/4 cup of water. I don't bother with that. And there's also no cornstarch in this. And the packets that you buy have cornstarch in them. I don't know why, but they do. Probably because you mix it with water and it makes it kind of saucy, but we just don't do that. So this is, if your seasonings are gluten-free, this is gluten-free. It may not be gluten-free simply because it was processed in a factory that's not gluten-free. So your spices, if they were manufactured somewhere, they may not be listed as gluten-free. But unless you have celiac disease, as long as you're, if you're just gluten sensitive, that may not be an issue for you. But there's no additives to this. This is it. That's it. And I got some chicken I want to use that. I'm probably going to make some fajitas tonight. So what I would do for fajitas is I would slice the chicken quite thin, because that's the way we like it. And I would sprinkle this on the chicken raw and toss it in a bowl. And then when I fry it, and I usually use a wok for that, because I can get it really hot. And then the seasonings are added that way. And it's not like you don't have to drain slices of chicken, right? So that's a non-issue. But that's how I would do it for fajitas. If you were doing chicken fajitas or beef fajitas, that's how I would do it. Tacos, I would partially cook the beef, and then I put in like my 3 tablespoons, and I just keep cooking. If you need to drain your beef, then you would drain your beef and then add this and stir it through. And I think you're going to really enjoy that. So thanks for joining us today. I'm going to finish my coffee and have some breakfast. And we'll see you on the next video.